living life is Stae. Hey, hey, living life is Stae. Hey, hey, living life is Stae. Hey, hey, love yourself first, explicitly. You owe it to yourself to move with that energy. Empower your self-esteem. Self-love is king. That's the only way to win. That's how you empower your dreams. Living life is Stae. Hey, hey, living life is Stae. Hey, hey, living life is Stae. Hey, hey, living life is Stae. Hey, hey.
Hey y'all, happy Mindset Monday and welcome to Living Life with Stae. And I am your girl Stae Hall. I am a motivational, transformational speaker. I am a life coach, L.Y.F.E, love yourself first explicitly, because I believe that any success, any true triumph, any true peace, happiness, and joy comes from self-love. I am also a published author as well as a certified soft skills and emotional intelligence coach. And I am a May, a wife, and a mother, which is what we are going to talk about today. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. Hey, Deborah, thank you so much for tuning in. And please excuse me because I'm a few minutes late today, and not that I'm never late, but I was aware that I was late today because I had a meeting off site and we just got to talking and collaborating and planning and masterminding. And the next thing I knew, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have my podcast and I need to be going live in about 20 minutes. And luckily where we were is like 15, 20 minutes max from the house. So I was able to get here. So I apologize for being late. Thank you so much, Deborah. I appreciate you so much. And I hope each and every one of you had a magnificent weekend, whether you are a mom, a grandma, a bonus mom, or just a woman who pours into young people. I salute you because all of us impact someone in some sort of way. So I salute each and every one of you. Hey, Jody. Hey, sis, I miss your face. I can't wait to see you. We have to get something on the calendar. And so today, I took a time out yesterday because, you know, Wallace and I usually go live together on Sundays, and we were going to go live together yesterday, but my day was just so chill, so relaxed, and just like, just the perfect, it's Mother's Day. And Mother's Day is usually a little tough for me for a multitude of reasons. And yesterday was just like one of the best Mother's Days I've ever had. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna relish in this. I'm just going to sit in this and I'm not going to do anything else but just enjoy my time. And so I quickly just got online and switched my Mother's Day broadcast to today. And Jody, I was just at your spot. I had a meeting. I was really doing work, but I was just at Magnolia. I was just at your spot. And so you and I are going to have to go there sooner rather than later. But that is where my last meeting was. So I just left Magnolia and darted over here to get on my live. So yeah, that's what I did. So you already know what time it is. I had my charcuterie and yeah, had a good time. But anywho, today we are going to talk about what is a good mother, right? Because so many people use that phrase like, I'm a good mother. I hope to be a good mother. I didn't have a good mother. I want to be a good mother. The question comes, are you a good mother? You know, you'll ask your kids, do you think I've been a good mother? And so I just want to take a deep dive into, hey, Jamia. Hey, how are you, Chris? Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Yes, we got to make a plan, sis. We got to make a plan. And let the first one be to go to Magnolia, because I know that's your spot and I love that spot too. But thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And so I just figured that we would just take a deep dive into exactly what does that mean to be a good mother? And is that really even a thing? And how is that measured? And who is, I guess, in control of measuring that? Who has the right to measure that? Can you measure yourself by the type of mother you are? Do you measure that by the type of mother you had? Do you let your kids decide what is a good mother? And so, being that I have had struggles with motherhood on both ends of the spectrum, right? So I have had struggles with the relationship that I've had with my mother, as well as just struggling with whether or not I was equipped to be a good mother. And so, again, I only speak about things that I feel like I have had experience with, things that I feel like I can relate to, and just be open and honest and candid with you all. And motherhood is one of those things that is like, yeah, high on the list of things that I have a lot of experience with and a lot of opinions about. And I think that, or I know that I'm somebody who looks at it from a very different lens than a lot of different people. And so what I think, first of all, is there is no hard and fast rule of these 10 things make you a good mother. However, I do believe that there are certain things that you need to be equipped with. There are certain qualities that you need to have, certain skills, certain tools, certain traits that can at least get you in line to be the best mother that you can be. And what I also believe is that all children are different. All children have different needs. All children have different expectations. And so maybe what looks like a good mother to some children is not necessarily a good mother to other children. But what I'm going to focus on mainly today are the things that we can do. And I know that a lot of us in, my age group, meaning 45 and beyond, have already raised our children. But put a 1 in the chat if you realize that motherhood, as long as you have children on this earth, people that you gave birth to, people that you are responsible for, people that you pour into, no matter how you came to be responsible for them, put a 1 in the chat if you realize that motherhood does not necessarily or does not stop just because a child is of age and 18. Motherhood continues on until even when your children are having a chat. So first of all, I need us to recognize that. So just put a 1 in the chat if you realize that motherhood don't stop, can't stop, won't stop. I wish can't stop was in here. I do measure it by my mother because she was an amazingly awesome. Well, that is awesome, awesome, awesome. And I love to hear that. And then there are those of us, thank you for the 1, Jamie, thank you for the 1, Deborah, I appreciate y'all. But then there's those of us who unfortunately didn't have that same experience. And however, no matter what your experience is with your mother, you'll still kind of measure what a motherhood is by your experience, whether it is measuring to pattern behind and do exactly what your mother did and replicate that, or you may feel like I'm not going to do anything like my mother did. But what I want to do is let you know that first and foremost, there is no such thing as a perfect mother because there's no such thing as a perfect person. And so what we have to do is, both as people who can find themselves in a mothership role or people who are just maybe trying to judge or rate the type of mother they had, what we have to do first is be able to extend grace and realize that no one is perfect, that we all fall short every once in a while, that we all make decisions and cast judgment and do things that we wish we could undo or do better. And so we want to make sure that we are extending that grace to ourselves as mothers, as well as being able to extend that grace to our mothers. And let me see, Chris. My beautiful mother passed away 5 years ago. She was my best friend. Well, I definitely reach out to you with my heartfelt condolences and empathy, because I'm sure that was very, very difficult for you. And so my heart goes out to you 100%. And I know that, a lot of us find ourselves, as we get older, and some people lost their moms. Hey, geeky girl, very young in life as well. And yes, we are all definitely imperfectly perfect. We all have, certain things that, there's room for improvement, right? Room for growth. But what I want to talk about today, because what I want to say is, it may be a little hard for some of us to hear. It may not be the most politically correct. It may not be the easiest thing to digest or accept. But what I want to say is that as much as we hold mothers in high regard and we revere our mothers, and mothers are the queen of the family, the matriarchs, the leaders, the nurturers, not everyone who has a child is a great mother. And being a great mother does not mean perfection, but you have to at least be able to have the heart for it. Hey, Cece, thank you so much for tuning in. And everyone who has a child, no matter how they may have stumbled across that child, whether it was through, your typical, pregnancy and birth, whether it was through adoption, whether it was through foster children, whether it was through whatever means it was just stepping into somebody, everyone does not have the heart and the tools and the skills to be a mother. And so that is what I want to talk about today, that what is a good mother. So number one for me in being a good mother would be just what I said, having the heart to be a good mother, meaning that you have that desire and you have the ability to give that unconditional love. That knowing that whatever kind of child you end up with, because when we get these little infants, of course, they're all just wonderful. They're beautiful. They don't give us any problems. We expect to have the sleepless nights. We expect to be doing the 2 a.m. feedings. We expect to deal with the diaper rash and the colic and all of those things. And so that's good. However, you have to be able to have the heart and desire and compassion to be a mother past those little infant stages, past those little toddler stages, past the cutesy stuff. We have to know that what we have given birth to, what we have been gifted, what we have adopted, what we have fostered is a human being and an individual that is going to have its own personality, that's going to have its own flaws, that's going to have its own issues. And we have to, first of all, as mothers, as parents, and I want to speak from the mothering standpoint because that's what I know, that's what I've been, but it is about being a parent. You have to realize that that baby stage goes quickly, and that child is born with its own personality, and you can see glimpses of it in the very beginning if you really pay attention. And however, if you don't pay attention and you just want to be like, oh, it's just a baby, soon enough, by the time that child reaches its toddler phases, you're going to start seeing that personality. Let's see. So true. I know people who want kids and can't have them, and I know some who have them and should not have them. Absolutely, because it's not for the faint of heart at all. It is definitely something that, it looks great. It looks glamorous. It looks like, oh my gosh, kids are so cute. I just want somebody to dress up. I just want somebody to follow in my footsteps. But there is no guarantee that that child is going to fit the mold that you have created for them. There is no guarantee that that child is going to adapt to the parenting skills that you thought were going to be the best for them. There is no guarantee that that child is going to be one who is, hey, Dennis, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. It was good chitting and chatting with you on Instant Messenger today. Looking forward to getting something scheduled. But there is just no guarantee that that child is going to adapt to the type of parenting. Hey, Tim, thank you for being here, that you thought that you wanted to be able to implement in your household. And whether you have one child, multiple children, children who are 5-6 years apart, whether you have triplets, quadruplets, whatever it is, what I want to tell you for sure is each child is going to have their individual personality. And in order to be a good mother, before you ever conceive and give birth, you need to already have your mindset. And I tell y'all all the time, whether I'm talking about business, whether I am talking about lifestyle, whether I'm talking about spirituality, and now talking about raising children, mindset is key. You have to get your mind right and realize that this is a journey that I'm embarking on with another completely separate individual. And I need to have the mindset that I am going to be able to love this child through whatever, nurture this child through whatever, and put at times my own wants and needs aside, especially in the early years, to be able to be there for that child. And that is the number one step of knowing that you are on the road to being a good mother. Thank you so much, Tim. I appreciate you, because I know myself, I forget a lot when I get on these lives to hit that thumbs up, because it's so interactive, and we want to start with the comments. So I appreciate you for always coming in and reminding people to hit the thumbs up, because that is a part of what lets YouTube know that people are interested in what I have to say, and people want to engage with me. They're like, oh, okay, people are hitting the thumbs up, so let's continue to push our content out. And just to let y'all know, and I'm going to be doing a separate video about it, your girl is now partially monetized on YouTube. I have reached my 500 subscriber goal. I think I'm like at 680 some subscribers, and I have my 3,000 watch hours, which I can contribute only to you all, because you're the ones who watch the videos. And so it has allowed me to now be able to have a membership and super chats and all of that, where you all can donate to the channel and be a member. And so I'm going to really research that over this week and see what that really looks like, so that we can take it to that next level. But I am considered now a YouTube partner. So give yourselves a round of applause. And thank you so much for the congratulations in that, because we are rocking and rolling, grooving and growing. And so I appreciate each and every one of you for the part that you played in that. And I see a very true from Geeky Girls. And I believe that's about talking about these different personalities and all the congratulations. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you so much, Geeky Girl. Hey, Lachey, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. Woohoo! Thank you, Jody. I appreciate you so much. And thank you, Tim, for sharing everyone's links. Please support one another. Go to the channels. It doesn't cost you anything. Subscribe to the channels, watch some videos, and leave some comments, because we all have this goal. Thank you, Tim, to be able to grow our tribe so that we can impact more and more people. But yeah, the first thing you need to think about is, do I have that capacity to love through everything, right? Do I have that capacity? Because a lot of us have issues with accepting ourselves, flaws and all, right? So not to mention having to be able to have the capacity to love someone else's flaws and all, and be able to realize that people don't always meet our expectations. Because when we enter into parenthood, a lot of times we have this vision in our life that, yes, I'm going to have this little girl and she's going to be in ballet, and I'm going to dress her in bows, and we're going to have the play dates. And maybe this little girl comes out and she's a straight up tomboy. She don't want no parts of the bows and ballet. She wants to play football with the boys, and she wants to be able to, wear her hair any old kind of way. She's not interested in the dresses. Her favorite color isn't pink, even though you decided to put the whole nursery in pink. And you have to be able to adjust and adapt to that. You also have to be able to adjust and adapt to, sometimes as they get older, they're not going to do exactly what it is that you plan for them to do. Maybe they're not interested in following in your footsteps. Maybe they don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer. Maybe they are more into the entrepreneurial type of thing. Maybe college isn't what they want. Are you going to be able to love and support that child even through that? Not to mention, if you end up with a child who has some kind of special needs, a child who's Down syndrome, a child who ends up suffering from panic and anxiety or depression. Are you equipped for that? Those are the things. I know that Wallace and I talk a lot about get ready or stay ready so you don't have to get ready when it comes to relationship. Well, guess what? Having a child is another type of relationship. Hey, Kelly, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you tons. But that's another relationship that you have to, or you should, do the work ahead of time to make sure that it's something that you are willing to embark on. You also cannot have a child simply because of the fact that maybe you weren't happy with the type of childhood you had, and you just want to have a child to be able to show that there's another way. You want to be a better parent than your parent was. You want to give them another kind of life. You can only do what you can do, and you can't have a child for any other reason than to be able to want to bring someone into this world who you can help nurture and cultivate to help them reach their highest level of success, however that looks for them, which is the key. Not how it looks for you, not what you wish you could have done with your life, not to give them what you didn't have, because sometimes they're not even interested in those things. So you have to be able to have the mindset that once I bring this person into the world, once I bring them into this household, because I'm talking about however you become a parent, your mindset has to be that I am open and willing and able to support them to live the type of life that they desire to live. And if you can't wrap your brain around that, if you don't know for a fact that you are capable of that, and that means whatever kind of life they want to live, whatever kind of life they want to live spiritually, whatever kind of life they want to live emotionally, whatever kind of life they want to live sexually, whatever that is, that you are open and you have the mindset to support that. Yes, you have to let them find their own way and not try to make them be who you want them to be. Absolutely. Because what happens, thank you so much, Tim. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you from all of us. But what can happen is we end up having these kids and we have our own agenda. We have our own ideas of what parenting is supposed to look like and what our child is going to be. And then we end up being disappointed by things that were never promised to us, that they never owed us. Because one thing I do believe is that the health and the sustainability of a parent-child relationship is on the parent. And so for those of you who have been with me for any amount of time might say, well, Stae, how are you saying that the success and sustainability of a parent-child relationship, the onus is on the parent, when you shared with us that you have an estranged relationship with your oldest son? Well, that is the reason why I can say that, because hey, J3, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for that Mother's Day wish. My Mother's Day was absolutely amazing. Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you so much. But the thing is, that's why I can talk about it, because I will never close the door of reconciliation with my son. My son is always welcome to contact me in any way he sees fit, whether he wants to call me, text me, stop by, send a carrier pigeon, whatever he wants to do. The reason why my relationship is still estranged with my son as far as my end is because I reached out to a point where it was unhealthy. I was reaching out to my son constantly, sending him messages, calling him, sending messages by other people. And that's not what he wanted. And so what I had to learn is that I had to respect his feelings, even though I still to this day don't agree with his feelings. But I had to respect his feelings. And my son is an adult, and he's been legally an adult since, we first stopped having a relationship. So this wasn't anything that happened when he was a child. But what I had to learn is I had to respect his feelings and understand that he right now does not want that relationship with me. Now, whether or not I agree with his reasoning behind it, whether or not I believe that it was right, whether or not I believe that there was outside influences, what I had to do was respect that his feelings are his feelings, but I also had to respect my feelings and realize that I can't keep putting myself out there to someone who has made it obvious that they don't want me in their life right now. However, I have not given up on that relationship. Like I said, I have not closed the door of reconciliation. And my son doesn't need to jump through a whole bunch of hoops in order to have a relationship with me again. But I had to realize that it was something that he did not want right now, still does not want. And so in order to respect his feelings and also to protect my heart, I had to bow out gracefully and realize that in God's time, things will happen the way they're supposed to. But I knew by continuing to push and push and push, what I was doing in essence was pushing him further away. And so that's what makes me an expert. That was what makes me relatable. And that's what makes me be able to be the perfect person to explain this type of thing to you, because I have 3 biological sons, and I have learned that I have to parent each one of them different. One of them doesn't want any part of my parenting, and I have to respect that, but know that whenever he does, and I truly believe that one day he will again, because he needed me a whole lot before. And so I feel like that need for me is going to come one day, and I'm going to still be there. I also realize that I have one who needs me on a regular basis, who needs me to constantly be a part of his life, who needs me to help him manage his life and to help him make decisions and to navigate through adulthood. And so I'm there for him, and I'm open for him, and I don't judge him by the decisions he makes. I guide him very loosely, only as asked. And I also realize that there's one who kind of needs the combination. He wants to be on his own, doing his own thing. And then there's times when he needs me. And as a parent, you have to be willing to show up as they need you and to be open to the fact that they're not always going to want your input. They're not always going to be open, and be okay with being on that yo-yo every once in a while. And that's something that I think a lot of mothers struggle with, is the fact that they want to be involved in every situation, and they feel used when they only hear from their kids when they need something. But the thing is, when your kids reach out to you only when you need something, you need to realize that that's a certain level of respect and appreciation that they're showing you. That's a certain level of trust that they're showing you, that they do value your opinions. And as much as they may want to be independent, as soon as they feel like they can't make it, the first person they call is you. So don't feel like you're being used. Don't feel like your kids are taking you for granted. Just realize that you are their person, but you're going to fit in their life a little differently. And so I cannot stress enough that the first part of being a good mother, a good parent, is having the mindset to know that there is no hard and fast rule of how this is going to go, and that you just need to have the open mind to be there for your kids when they need you in the capacity that they need you, and have no judgment or expectation of what kind of person that they're going to be. And just trust and believe that the example that you set is still in their mind, even if they are doing the complete opposite of anything that you could have imagined or thought. Just know that your time and attention has not gone in vain. Those things will come back into their remembrance, but they just have to, a lot of them, kind of figure it out on their own. Some people have to bump their own heads. Other people can learn from other people's bumps. But your job as a parent is to be able to be there and help them to navigate it when needed. Like these stars, a lot of them name their kids for stardom. They have the kids to keep their legacy alive and don't allow them to make, I'm thinking you're going to say, to make their own decisions. Absolutely. We cannot put unfair expectations on our kids at all. We have to, and it's a gift to them to be able to let them figure out and navigate life for themselves. And so that's another thing I want to talk about as far as being a good mom. Being a good mom is being able to navigate that gray area between a helicopter mom and, what do they call it now? Easy parenting. What is it called? What do they call it? The parenting where they don't do a whole lot of discipline, and they don't, they're not hands-on. They kind of from birth let kids make their own decisions. In my opinion, being a good mom is that right in between, where you're not the helicopter mom making every decision for them and being a part of and I'm talking about even from a young age, because I think it is very important, especially in this day and age, to let kids, girl, that's okay. I think I figured it out. I think I picked up what you was putting down. But it is very important to kind of let them have a sense of self, because there are going to be so many people trying to get them to think the way that they think and pull them in all different types of directions, offer them different things, that you want to be able to have a child who has a strong will and is able to make their own decision. So you don't want to be that helicopter parent, even from day one, who gives your kids no choice. You tell them what to wear. You tell them what kind of haircut they want. You tell them what they have to eat. You want to give them some sense of decision making and some sense of confidence and some sense of independence. However, you also want to be there and always make it clear that if they have any questions or if they have any doubts about what they're doing, that you are there to guide them. So it's not necessarily ruling with an iron fist, my way or no way, but it's about teaching them to have the confidence to make their own decision, but also teaching them about consequences. I only have one son, and when they get married, it is very different. I stay out of their marriage pretty good. Yeah, and I love that. And so I have a son who is married as well, and we're the same way. If we're asked advice or questions, especially since we do couples coaching, we definitely give it to them straight. We don't sugarcoat it. And we feel like we have shown them a pretty good example. However, when they are in the midst of something, if we're not asked, we don't jump in, because again, everybody's path isn't the same. But that parenting part about it is, even if they don't follow, the advice you've given, that when things maybe do not go the right way, you're there to help them navigate that and kind of clean up the mess. That's what we do. Understanding, right? Mothers have open mind. Fathers have to have an open pocket. I think we can both do both. I hit the button. Girl, it happens to me all the time. Text, emails, everything. I'm like, oh, Lord, I read something over and I'm like, yeah, I wasn't ready to send that yet. So I definitely get it. But we do have to sometimes be the clean up men, the clean up women, because that's how they learn. And so being there to kind of force them through things. One thing for me, is in my upbringing, I was pretty much parented with the iron fist, the my way or the highway. You will do this, you won't do that. And I did not have the type of personality that was really good for. And so I felt like I knew what was best for me oftentimes, and I still do. I don't regret some of the things that I thought. There's nothing that I really look back on like, oh, I wish I would have listened. I mean, because I made mistakes like anybody else. The thing that really bothered me the most in my upbringing was that I wasn't really allowed to make mistakes. So even though I made mistakes, it's inevitable. But the way my mistakes were dealt with was like, I was such a disappointment. I was, this is not the type of person we raised. How could you be so stupid? And just, I wasn't allowed to be human. So it was like, in my mind, I felt like my parents had this certain vision of what their kids were going to be. And anytime I went against that, it was just immediately let known to me that I disappointed them, that I let them down, that this wasn't their plan. And how is this going to make us look? And this is what not what we wanted for you. And you're not doing the things we wanted. And how is this going to look on our family? Where I feel as though, they made mistakes too, even though you're a parent or whatever, and you may have a successful life, you had to make some mistakes. And so with my kids, it's been more like, okay, this is what happened. And this is what you did. This is not necessarily what I taught you, but what made you make that decision? Okay, well, how do you feel about that decision? Well, how can I help you now to make better decisions? How can I help you now to fix what's been done? Everybody makes mistakes. What can we do to make sure that you don't make the same mistake again? But I've just made it a point that Very rarely did I ever tell my kids they disappointed me, because I never felt like that was my right, because who am I to say you disappointed me? For me to feel like my kids were never going to do anything that went against what I had hoped and dreamed for them means that I had unfair expectations on my kids. What I don't want my kids to do is get in the habit of disappointing themselves, because for me, my life is my life. I'm doing what I want to do. I'm making my own decisions. It's not for me to be disappointed in what they do. I just don't want decisions that they make to impact their lives in a negative way for longer than need be. Hey, Sunshine. Hey, Alan. Thank you both for tuning in. And please, I did not give the disclaimer, but if you are watching on YouTube or any other social media platform other than YouTube, feel free to jump over to YouTube, put the @ and Stae Hall in the search bar, subscribe to the channel, so that way I can see your comments in real time and you can participate, because sometimes the other platforms do not play well with YouTube. And so I don't always see who's joining in on other platforms, but I absolutely 100% enjoy you being here and I appreciate you. And let me put the link in the chat. Y'all know I forget and nobody reminded me. So just in case anybody wants to join me up here on the screen, if you have any questions, anything to add, y'all know you are always welcome to do so. I just talk and talk and talk, and sometimes I forget. But if you have something to say and the link isn't in the chat, don't hesitate to put in a comment and say, hey, Stae, where's the link? I got something I want to say. But it just has never been my method of parenting to beat somebody down, because most of the time when we make mistakes, we know we made a mistake. We feel bad about the mistake. We're already beating ourselves up about the mistake. We don't need nobody else beating us up. We don't need anybody else telling us that they're disappointed in us. We don't need anybody else telling us, well, this isn't, the life that you were supposed to have. What we need is encouragement and support. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't, give that advice or say, well, hey, what are we going to do to make sure that this doesn't happen again? What can I do to help you be able to create some sort of structure, create some kind of plan that you can do better in the future? But there is no reason to beat somebody down. I am not the type of person who believes in kicking somebody when they're down. I'm not the type of person who believes in, I'm not that person who, my child comes home and they have an issue at school and I get on that child, I say what I have to say to that child, and then I'm like, oh, but wait till your dad comes home. No, either one of us is going to address you and maybe the other one will talk to you later, or we're going to address you at the same time. But to have to go through that beat down over and over again, those are the kind of things that play on people's mental. Those are the kind of things that play on the psyche. So my advice to parents, when you have both parents in the home, or if you are very successful in your co-parenting, talk to each other and then talk to your child together. That over and over, okay, I already dealt with my mom. Now it's like, okay, she done called my grandma. Now I got to deal with my dad. That is something that can really be unnecessary stress on someone mentally. And I truly believe that's how we end up with so many people with anxiety, so many people with PTSD, because it's that overkill, for lack of a better phrase, where it's just beat you down, when we all know, especially as adults, the number one person who is going to beat us down for mistakes that we made is going to be us. You have a healthy view of how to handle children's mistakes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kelly. I appreciate you. Your channel, chat away. I stay right. That's me, because I will sit here and chit and chat and forget that anybody else might have something to say, but I always want to know y'all are welcome. I love that chat away with Stae. Yes. But the thing is, you want to make sure that your parenting, your discipline is constructive rather than destructive. Because I know for me, when I was growing up, it was hard for me to ever learn a lesson, because I was just trying to mentally prepare myself for the beat down, and then not having much input. It was just like, you did this, you're this kind of person, you disappointed us, you need to do better, I'm so ashamed of you, I'm so embarrassed. None of that was productive for me. None of that. And so Being a good mother, being a good parent is being willing to listen as much as you talk. Being willing that even though this is a child, and I don't care how young, asking them questions as to why did you do that? What were you thinking when you did that? How did you feel when you did that? How do you feel after you did that? What can I do to help you not to do that anymore? That's what's going to be productive. That's what's going to get to the bottom of it. That's what's going to help the cycle stop to repeat itself, because when you just beat somebody down, they really don't have any incentive to not do that bad thing again, because most of the time when we engage in bad behaviors, even as adults, we're engaging in that bad behavior because in the moment it feels good. In the moment it feels right. And so what happens when you get beat down over bad behavior? You're more than likely to repeat that or some other type of bad behavior just for even a moment, to get that feeling of satisfaction, that feeling of pleasure, that feeling of rebellion, that feeling of just like, you know what, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. Let's see, geeky girl, what you say? I do the same, Stae. I have discussions with my girls. I don't continue to throw things in their face. We already talked about it. Move on. Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely don't believe in kicking someone when they're down. Another part of being a good parent and a good mother, in my opinion, is not always making the right decision, not always saying the right thing, not always responding correctly. But it's about when we don't, being big enough to apologize. Being big enough to say, you know what, I know I was really hard on you yesterday and what you did wasn't right and I didn't agree with it, but I could have handled it differently. And so I hope that you can accept my apology and know that, now cooler heads prevail. You caught me a little off guard yesterday or last week, but I'm only human too. And just like you made that mistake and made that choice to do whatever you did, I then in turn made a poor choice on my behalf and reacted the way that I did. Having an apology from your parents is just like, wow, they're people too. They go through some of the same things I go through. They understand me. They're not perfect. They don't think they're perfect. And they value me as a person enough to apologize to me. Like, don't be afraid to apologize to your children. Don't be afraid to let your children know that you have moments of weakness too. Don't be afraid to let your children know that you're not a perfect mom or a perfect dad. That can teach your kids so much more than any lecture, any punishment, any discipline could teach them. Teaching your children that empathy, teaching your children that accountability, teaching your children that self-awareness, those are the lessons that are going to last. Those are the lessons that are going to stick and help to mold them to be responsible adults. Going to your kids and saying, hey, I was a little too hard on you, or hey, I regret that I said that to you. I regret that I called you that name, or I cursed, or whatever it is that you did. I regret that I compared you to other kids, because that's a mistake that I've seen a lot of parents make. That was a mistake that was made with me, where it was like, well, why can't you be like such and such? Or I'd rather have such and such as a daughter than you. Such and such listens to their parents. Because truth be told, all we know is from the outside looking in, and those kids and those parents are having the same exact issues that we're having. And a lot of times the kids know more about that than we do. I know whenever I found myself pregnant with my oldest son, first of all, I was 19 years old, 3 months from turning 20. I was in school and had a full-time job. I was not a child. However, in my household, you would have thought, that I was 10 years old, but that's a different story from a different day. But a lot of my friends at the time did not have children. However, they was out there having sex and had been doing things long before I ever thought about doing anything. I am that person who got pregnant their first time. It may be TMI for some of y'all, but I'm completely candid and transparent. If I'm going to tell it, I'm going to tell it all. So yes, my first time, 19 years old, I ended up with child. However, I knew that I had other friends who have been sleeping around, entertaining in a sexual way since we were like in 6th grade. But I was the first one to actually have a child. It's visible. Everybody sees me. I'm pregnant. And people tried to beat me down about that. And I was such an embarrassment. And how can I do that? And your other friends don't do that. And they're going off to college and whatever. But I knew better. And so be real careful of who you compare your kids to. Be real careful of who you tell them they should be more like, because you don't know what those other kids are doing. And that's one thing I learned early on in parenting. Don't ever be that parent to be like, oh, my kids will never, because they will make a lie out of you every single time. I don't care what you're teaching in your household. I don't care what type of example you are setting. I don't care how much church you take them to. I don't care how many private school tuitions you pay. Those kids are individual, and they are going to do some things at some time that you would never think that they would do. And so don't put yourself out there and get so high and mighty on your high horse thinking that you're such a great parent and such a great example that your kids would never. Because as soon as you say what they never would do, they're going to turn around and do something 3 times worse than what you thought they would never do. And so you want to be careful, again, who you compare your kids to, the things that you say to your kids, because you never know. And comparing them to kids when these kids probably know, oh, you have no idea what Sally out there doing. And so you just don't want to do that, because you don't know. And it doesn't matter. Would you want to be compared to anybody else? No. And that's what you have to remember as a mother, as a parent, that you were a child at some point too. And is that how you would have wanted to be dealt with? Or those are the things that would have made you feel better? As a mother, as a parent, it should be mainly about making that child, that young adult, that adult feel as good about themselves as possible. And for them to know that they are, like Jody said, perfectly imperfect, that everybody makes mistakes, and that everything is not always going to go the way you want. Now, am I saying that there should never be that strong lecture? Am I saying that there should never be any discipline, that you should never take the phone, that you should never say you're not allowed outside? No, that's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is we owe our children conversations. We owe our children explanations. We owe our children that quality time, that one-on-one, that get to know you, that dialogue, that open forum, while we're saying, after we had that conversation, you still ain't going to touch that phone for a week. There is nothing wrong with that. Discipline, structure, there is a place for that, but you can't just be all discipline, all structure. And I think that when we were growing up, that's where a lot of things were missed. It was just do as I say, not as I do, because I said so, you better not. And, that's it. And that's just not what's going to get the message across. What kids are going to appreciate, what they are going to cling to, the things that are going to take them into their next level of success, is knowing that they had a mom, a parent who understood them, who listened to them, who valued their opinion. There are so many things that kids want to do that we don't understand. Why do you want your hair pink? Why do I have to understand why you want your hair pink? Is pink hair really going to make or break anybody? Let them express themselves. Let them figure out who they are, because the thing is, if you don't allow that while they're at home, they're going to do it at some point. And so why not have both of you prepared so that you can see what your child is interested in, what their likes are, what their dislikes are, what their hopes and dreams and aspirations are, so that you can prepare both of you for that journey, so that you can kind of get that upfront inside look of what road your child is headed down, so that you're not caught off guard, so that you're not disappointed. Don't try to keep those blinders on and act like, well, just because I said this, they're not going to do it, because that's going to end up in a world of trouble. So why not go down the path together with your child? Get to know who they are as a person. Let them know that they're accepted. Let them know that they're valued, and let them know that they have support and unconditional love. It is the worst thing in the world for people to be estranged and not have relationships with their children simply because their children lived a lifestyle that they don't agree with. And had you paid more attention and bonded and got to know them early on in life, then you would have been prepared for that. And you would have been able to be that support. Hey, wellness, thank you so much for tuning in. They done got quiet on me. So I don't know. Is this subject a little too much for y'all, or y'all not wanting to tune in? I just knew people were going to be popping in left and right, wanting to get on the stage. I thought I was going to have a platform full, what do y'all call it? A full panel. But they quiet on me today, wellness. So thank you so much for tuning in, because that way I had somebody else to engage it with, because they ain't said nothing for a minute. So I appreciate you. But this is a topic that's just near and dear to my heart, because I grew up feeling not understood. I grew up feeling judged. I grew up feeling like a disappointment. Thank you, Jody. I grew up feeling like a disappointment. And so it's always been my journey to be able to help other people navigate that. And I feel like because that was something that happened to me, I was able to navigate things with my children as well. So I wanted to be able to express that. And I just think it's something that so many of us don't think about, because parenting so much in the beginning is just the woo, cute little baby, and then discipline, do this, do that. And so I felt like with yesterday being Mother's Day, I'm like, let's just talk about that. And of course, I'm going to talk about mothers because that's what I know, that's who I am. But hopefully this topic, the things that I'm being able to share with you, can help the dads as well. You say got out. Yes. So those are the things. So another part of being able to be a good mother, and I keep on putting that in quotation marks because I don't even know what that means, because the main thing is you want to always be able to do the best that you can. You want to lead with love. You want to lead with empathy. You want to lead without judgment. Those are the main things about being a good mother. A good mother doesn't mean that you're never going to make any mistakes, but what you want to do, and my last point is, you just want to make sure that you don't provide your children a childhood and upbringing that they one day have to heal from. And I must say, even though I've kind of saved that for last, that was my number one thing. I did not want to provide an upbringing, a raising of my children that they one day had to heal from. I didn't want me to be the main thing that they talk about with their therapist. And that's another thing too. Get your kids in therapy early. Introduce them to therapy. Don't wait for there to be a problem. Just make it be a part of what our family does. Family counseling, child therapy, whatever. Y'all know I'm therapy. Introduce your kids to therapy early in life. But that was one of my main goals. I didn't want to be the reason why my children had to heal. And did I get that right from jump? I didn't. And let me just share with y'all, and y'all probably get tired of me sharing, but as much as I really thought about, prayed about, researched, did the work about what kind of parent I wanted to be, I didn't realize or even think about the fact that through my parenting and just my family structure, my children were still going to be in the company, and the people who raised me were still going to have a lot of access to my children. And so even though I grew up in what I feel was a toxic atmosphere, and I grew up and had an upbringing that I had to heal from, an upbringing that was traumatic for me, I still allow my children for the very early years to be a part of that same structure. And I just felt like, because I had the mindset and I had the will and I had done the work, that was going to be enough to protect my children from the toxicity that had traumatized me. And without getting deep into it, that's a part of the reason why I no longer have the relationship with my oldest son that I would like, is because I allowed the people who traumatized me to have too much access to him. And so that's something that I want to lend to y'all, that you have to completely do the work beyond your mindset, beyond your hopes and dreams, and even what you know to be different. That's why you have to constantly be in counseling, have that support system, because sometimes you will repeat some of the same mistakes from your childhood and family curses and generational curses, completely unintentional, because you haven't done all the work that you need to do to remove yourself from the toxicity. And so no matter how much you do to make your home a safe place, no matter how much you do to make yourself a good parent, if you still are allowing toxic people to have access to your personal and private family unit, there's always that chance that they can infiltrate that. And so that was the mistake I made. However, thank you, wellness. However, when I learned better, I did better. And so one of my sons still kind of got caught up in that. But like I said, I'm not giving up. The time is going to come. We're going to reunite. We're going to have that mother-son relationship that we should. But with my other two kids, because my kids have some distance in between them, 5-6 years in between them. And so with my other two kids, I was much more protective of those boundaries. I was much more guarded with that access. And so when I realized that, I made certain changes. But I just want you to be aware that just knowing that certain things aren't good is not enough. You have to act. You have to create those boundaries. And you have to do that because people will intentionally do things when they see you doing something different, when they see you going down a more positive road, when they see you creating those boundaries, they will intentionally, I understand. Have a good night, Tim. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. Hey, Nikki, thank you for being here. But people will intentionally do things to try to throw a monkey wrench in what you have going on. People who are toxic, people who haven't done the work, people who don't understand boundaries, don't like to see you doing anything different. They don't like to see you creating those boundaries. And definitely, like if it's a parental relationship, they don't even feel like you have a right to have those boundaries. You see what I'm saying? They'll feel like, how dare you have those boundaries? I raised you. These are my grandkids. I can behave any way I want. I can talk to you however I want in front of them. You can't tell me what to do. And so you have to be very strong. And a lot of times, or all the time, that's going to take having some outside support. That's going to take having that counseling. That's going to take having that therapy, because this is something that you've lived with forever. And they will convince you that they know better for your children. They'll even try to convince your children that you don't know how to parent them. So you have to be very careful. And that's a mistake that I made early on. Let's see. When I got put out of the house, my mom's said if I was going to live a certain way, I had to get out. I was 18, 19, and it hurt, but I understand now it was how she was raised. Absolutely. And that's the thing. Sometimes, people are just doing what has always been done. And that's why I'm charging us with doing better, getting the knowledge, creating the boundaries, and having the support to do it differently. I don't see how anyone can't love you. Oh, thank you, Jody. Thank you, Jody. Oh my goodness, that just melts my heart. But that's another thing I had to do, because I was so like, okay, my family and loyalty, and that's my mom, and this is my dad, and whatever. But I had to realize I needed to create boundaries. I needed to create a healthy environment. And sometimes that means removing people from your life who are supposed to be your core people and building your own core. And that's how I ended up surrounding myself with people like Jody and people like Adrian and, different people you'll hear me mention, Vonda, and creating my own family. People like my husband, who was one of the first people to open my eyes to how toxic my situation really was. And that's when I also had to realize that even though my oldest son fell prey to a lot of that toxicity and I was losing my relationship with him, I also had to realize that I had two other sons who loved and appreciated me. And I had to still be that healthy mom for them. I couldn't just mourn the loss of my first son in that relationship and forget about them, because they were here. They were loving me and respecting me as their mother. And that's what they deserve. So I had to make a lot of tough decisions. But I tell y'all, as hard as it was, I am in the best place mentally in my life that I've ever been. Is it perfect? Do I wish that certain things were different? Absolutely. However, the good far outweighs the bad. And I haven't given up hope. And to me, sometimes I equate myself, and y'all might laugh at me and be like, who do you think you are? But if y'all know, yes, they can be, they really can be. And what I also extend grace and understand that they didn't have all the tools, but then at the same time I realized, just like I did the work, they had the opportunity to do the work, so I just had to weigh it out. But sometimes I equate myself. Y'all know the story in the Bible where the two women were fighting over the baby, and Jesus came and said, well, I'll just cut the baby in half. And he figured that once he said he cut the baby in half, the mother who, said, no, don't do that, he knew, well, that's going to be your mother, because as a mother, you rather do without your child and not have your child in your life than to see them be harmed. And that's where I am now with my oldest son. It's like, as long as I know he's okay, as long as I know he's thriving in this world, that's what does my heart good. I am not going to put him in a position, where I'm constantly badgering him. I can just pray for him and just know. And even though I'm not completely comfortable with who he's chosen in his life and, those relationships, my thing is I just want him to be okay. And so that's kind of, what I had to deal with. And when they say, oh, wow, I haven't seen you this year, what you're going to do is be disrespectful, especially in front of my children. If I allow someone to do that, they will come to me and no others. Exactly. And that's the thing. You have to, you teach people how to treat you. And sometimes the best way we can teach them how to treat us is by being absent from their presence. Because some people will never learn or respect your boundaries. No matter how much you try, they won't. And so that's why you just have to remove yourself. And maybe your absence will make them see the light, and sometimes it won't. And so that's just where I've been. But I realized that, no, that's okay. That's okay. I understand. I think I was picking up what you putting down. No apologies necessary at all. This is a judgment-free zone. We all get it. None of us. And I know how it is when you get to talking. So, girl, don't worry about it. As long I think we got your message 100%. And we have a lot in common, I do believe. And so that's the thing. And your children see that, because I know, my oldest son, which that's the one I'm estranged from. But early on, when I was allowing the toxicity in my life and he was seeing me be talked to any kind of way and cussed out, first of all, it didn't teach him a whole lot of respect for me, because he's like, well, dang, you supposed to be the mama, but you getting in trouble just like me. And so, but he still would say, Mom, I don't even know why you deal with that. Mom, why do you even answer the phone? But my words to him would be like, that's not your place. That's your grandmother, or that's whatever. I can handle that. But he noticed it. And I think because I didn't act on it is what allowed him to just be like, well, shoot, I ain't going to disrespect you, because clearly she the boss. And so that was a mistake I made. And that's what I tell a lot of young mothers is, you need to do the work for you. You need to get healthy for you as soon as you can. Is, when your child is very young, you need to do that work, and you need to take control of the raising of your own child. Don't let anybody else tell you that they can raise your child better than you. If you have the heart to do it, if you are willing to put in the work, then you raise your own child and get your own support, especially and definitely if you feel that you grew up in a toxic relationship. Because toxic people, that is their job, is to tell you that you're not good enough, to tell you where you mistake. Because again, your success is going to make them feel bad about themselves. They'll act like they're swooping in to help you. They'll act like they're just doing it because they don't think that you're capable. But really what it is they see your capability, they see your passion, and they see your drive. And they're just afraid that you're going to do so good that it's going to make them look bad. And so that's why, as a parent, you have to always be able to trust your heart, trust your gut, and know that you are doing your best, and be able to seek support outside of your immediate circle and family members to be able to do that, to do your best, and just involve your children in that, and let your children know that I know I'm not perfect, but I'm doing my best. I'm here for you. If there's anything that you need from me that you're not getting, come and ask me. That whole, I hate when kids say, well, I was just scared to ask my mom or my dad. Our kids should not be afraid to ask and come and talk to us about anything. Have that open door policy. Let them know it's judgment free. Again, being judgment free does not mean that there's no consequences. Being judgment free means that I'm not going to beat you down. I'm going to give you sound advice. There may be some discipline involved, but ultimately what I'm going to do is help you work through it, because that's what we are as parents. We're a support system for our kids, because we can't forget who we are and the things that we have done. And we can't have these unfair expectations of our children. Hey, Dolores, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate you. Yes. Yeah, that open door policy. It is, because the thing is, if they're not talking to you, they're either going to talk to nobody and continue to make the bad decisions, or talk to someone else who is not equipped to give them that information. And even though, I talk a lot about business and team morale and things like that, so much of what I do with emotional intelligence and soft skills is across the board. People respect and want to be involved with people who they feel value them and appreciate them and hear them. People want to be heard. People want to be valued. People want to be respected. And that's no different for our children. They want to be able to come to you and know that whatever it is, you're going to hear them out. You're not going to judge them, and you're going to help them work through it. And I don't care what that is. I don't care if it's a drug issue. I don't care if it's gambling. I don't care if it's sex. Whatever it is, hear them out. And maybe the way we work through it is saying, hey, we need to get you some other help. You need to go into rehab. You need some therapy. You need to go to some kind of camp, whatever it is. I'm not saying that every single thing is just like, oh, it's fine, it'll be good. No, sometimes there needs to be some tough love, but you can still do tough love in a gentle way. Let's see what you say, Jody. You have to set boundaries. Stae knows I try to love on everyone, but sometimes you have to walk away in order to keep your sanity. Some things just are fixable. You can forgive, but never can you forget. And you can't. And I don't even think that forgetting is healthy. You don't want to forget, because if you forget, what's that mean? You have the more of a likelihood to go down that same road again. And so you don't want to forget. You want to set those boundaries. That's why I tell y'all, with anybody who you've been estranged from, and this would be the same for my son if he would call me today and he would say, Mom, I just wanted to go back to the way it was. No, son, I don't want it to go back to the way it was. I want you in my life, but what I want us to do is work on a new relationship, because when you go back to the way it was, means that the same thing that happened can happen again. So you want to build a new relationship with boundaries, with certain guidelines. You just don't. Yeah, I figured that's what you meant, Jody, when I was reading it. But you always want to create a new relationship, and you want to do it in a new way, because the way it was is what got you to where you are. And so even though the door of reconciliation is open, even though you are willing to rebuild that relationship, you want to always rebuild a new relationship, because over time and experiencing different things, you're different people. So I can't have the same relationship with you that I had before, because I'm not the same person that I was before. And so I am just somebody who is really a stickler for words. Say what you mean what you say. And so don't agree to have a relationship with somebody and say it's back the way it was if that's not really what you mean. Don't agree to that. Say, no, I'm willing to have a new relationship, because we are hopefully two new people. But I also want y'all to know that it is completely okay to protect yourself, protect your children from other people. I don't care who those other people are, family members, friends, next door neighbors. It is completely okay for, if your child says that they're not comfortable around certain people, if they don't want to go to their house, have that conversation, find out why. And even if you can't get a clear answer, if they say they don't want to do it, then don't make them do it. Long gone are the days of go over there and give Aunt Cindy a hug and go over there and sit on Uncle Bubba's lap. If they don't want to hug Aunt Cindy and sit on Uncle Bubba's lap, that is completely okay. And I always say, ask the follow-up questions as to why, and let them know that no matter what they say, It's okay. Long gone are the days of forcing our kids to have relationships with any and everybody. I don't care who those people are. And when your kids seem uncomfortable and seem a little shy and that's not their normal reaction, ask them why, but ask them in a way that makes them feel comfortable. They do not have to be in everybody's presence. They do not have to have a relationship with everybody. They don't need to be hugging everybody. They don't need to be kissing everybody. And sometimes it's not even a big issue. We just have to realize that our kids are people too. Everybody is not affectionate. Everybody does not like people in their personal space. Listen to your kids. Allow them to be who they are, because one of a couple of different things can happen. Your child might be uncomfortable with that person just because they're uncomfortable. And there's somebody who just is not very affectionate and only, feels comfortable around certain people. That is fine for them to be that way, because if you force it and force it and force it, then they're going to feel like having their own personal space and boundaries isn't okay. And so they'll grow up thinking that I'm supposed to let any and everybody touch on me. And that's not a good thing. Or them shying away from it could be giving you a message that Uncle Bubba and Aunt Cindy ain't the sweet, kind people that you think they are. And so that's why you want to have those conversations to find out, is there a reason why you're uncomfortable with them? Or are you just the kind of person, maybe you're an introvert? There's a lot of different stuff. Like I said, my middle son has Asperger's. All that hugging and stuff is not for him. Now, he might dap you up, give you a pound. Now, I'm his mama, so every once in a while, I'll be like, you gonna give me a hug. But it's different. But you want to listen to your kids. If they feel uncomfortable about certain things, that's a part of being a good mom. It's not like, boy, you better get over there and give your Aunt Cindy a hug. No. And we ain't worried about Aunt Cindy's feelings because she grown. So we want our kids to know that from day one, their body and their space is theirs, and they have a right to say no anytime they don't want their personal space invaded. Now, to have your kids to speak to people and say hello and be kind and be, what's the word I'm looking for? Polite. Hello, goodbye, thank you, no, thank you. Absolutely. But long gone are the days of go give them a hug, go give them a kiss. They don't have to, in my opinion. I'm not telling nobody how to raise their kids. I'm just giving you my opinion. And I just feel like when you allow your kids to set certain boundaries at a young age, it allows them to trust you more. It allows them to feel valued and heard and appreciated. And it also, as they get older, allows them to know that it's okay to be uncomfortable with certain things. It's okay to say no. It's okay to have your boundaries. And I just think that sometimes there are certain things we don't think about as we're raising kids because of how we were raised, or just the fact that it's like, stay in a kid's place and feeling like kids don't have the right to make their own decisions. Let me see. And we agree. Absolutely. Let's see. Jody said, I have to walk away from some friendships that hurt my heart to do so, but I was hurting more, getting disrespected and staying in the toxicity. It's okay to love you and not have to explain why you left. Absolutely. And some people, you have to love from a distance. I mean, I've had many toxic relationships in my life that I have, thank God, walked away from. And I wish the people know Will ill. If there's any way that they need my assistance and I can help from a distance, if I can lend a referral, whatever I could do, I would do it. I wish them no ill will. But it just got to the point where I realized that I had to choose me. And that's how I was going to be healthier. And healthier for me meant that I was healthier for my family and those who deserved me. And so that was just, a decision I had to make. Oops. I don't know why my computer's messing up. Bye is like no, a complete sentence. Yeah, absolutely. Deuces. And you don't have to explain it, and there's certain people who may not till this day know that I ain't really fooling with them, because I didn't feel like it was necessarily, necessary to have the conversation or to explain it. I just decided this person is no longer a part of my life. And I just walked away because everybody doesn't deserve the conversation. And the thing is, you'll realize who really misses you, who even really gives a care, because some people will allow you to walk away and not even come looking for you, right? Because there are so many people that if they can't use you, then they can't use you. If you're no longer serving a purpose for them, then they forget you ever existed. And that's the thing. We allow ourselves to be in so many different relationships that don't serve us at all. They're so one-sided. And sometimes the only purpose that we're serving in certain relationships is just allowing someone to keep behaving poorly and being in their toxicity. And that's all we do for them. So yeah, I hope that something I said today resonated with someone, that it was impactful. Y'all know I'm just here to share and be as open and honest as possible. I am truly, I believe, the epitome of an open book, because the way that I have gotten through so much of what I dealt with in life is by finding my purpose and my passion through sharing with others, and realizing that so much of what I've been through is not just about me, if at all. It's about being able to help somebody else. And because so many people go through things and they just don't have the personality. Thank you so much, Nikki. I appreciate you. Let me see. Well, please pray for me, because I'm not at the point where I can call on me and I'm going to help them. That's okay. That's okay. Because I'm not like that with everybody either. Thank you so much, Nikki. I appreciate you. And thank you, Wellness, as well. But yeah, I mean, it's just some things I went through and I had no idea why I experienced them or why people were treating me the way they treated me. And it wasn't until I really realized my purpose that everything made sense. And so having y'all on here and saying, thank you, or I agree, or that helped you in any kind of way, just further helps me work through things. Because even though, I've done the work, I've been through therapy, I've done classes, I've become certified in certain things, it's still, it's my life. So every once in a while, I still have that like, dang, I can't believe, this is what happened to me, or this is where I am. And so having y'all here, just helps me stay focused and like, no, this is exactly why you're here. And it was very difficult for me. And it took me years to be able to even share this. So when I first stepped in this type of arena and I first started doing public speaking and motivational speaking, I didn't come from a personal place in the very beginning. I didn't talk about my story. I just gave facts and I talked about things in general. And then even when I wrote my book, I dipped into my personal a little bit in the introduction, but it was, a very, general devotional that could help anybody. And so it still took me a long time to have the courage to share my story. And it was for many reasons. One was I just didn't know how people would look at me, because I had already kind of made a name for myself and people looked at me and held me in a certain regard. And I'm like, do I really now want to come and tell them how messed up I am and the things that happened? And so then once I kind of got over that, and I'm like, you know what, people will accept me or not accept me, but this is what I'm here for and I'm going to share. But then I start feeling like I had to protect other people. Like, can I really come on here and talk about my family? Like, people are going to know who I'm talking about. And then I realized my story is my story. My journey is my journey. I don't owe it to anybody to protect them when I'm telling my story. I'm not on here to bash anybody intentionally or to make anybody look bad, but how can I effectively help people if I'm not honest? And so it took me getting real comfortable with that stuff and realizing that that was my purpose. I'm like, people are going to relate to me better when they know that I'm coming from a place of experience in my personal journey. And there's nothing for me to be ashamed of. And I feel like if other people who were involved or feel like I'm outing them or ashamed about it, then maybe you should have behaved differently. Maybe you should have done something different. And so in these last couple of years, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just putting it all out there. And it's not to bash anybody, shame anybody. It's not to bring myself any type of clout or praise or anybody to feel sorry for me. It's just for me to help, because what I am doing is being there and sharing the way I wish somebody would have shared with me. And yeah, we learn and move on. You have to do better. And when you know better, you do better. And some people get that and some people don't. It's a couple a people God himself reviled. Yep. And it was clear. Exactly. Yep. He revealed it. When you get to that point, you got to listen. Yes. I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you for your courage. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And it did. It took courage. And then it took me building the right support group and finally feeling safe for the first time in my life, and finally, having that safe place and that soft place to fall, and just that encouragement of, people, mainly my husband and even my sister who, lived in the same household as me and similar and witnessed certain things. And, I'll get into that another day about, how our relationship was strained because of a lot of the toxicity. And she and I are still, working through that. Our bond has been created, but we had to go from, building our bond, and it was a trauma bond based on what we had both experienced, to then being able to build a real authentic sisterhood and friendship outside of being able to, connect through our trauma. And so it's a process, but I thank God daily for that relationship and the growth. If somebody looks at you differently for telling your story, then those people need to step stage left, because we all have a story. So I applaud you for being transparent. Thank you, JoJo. I appreciate you. Yeah. And I don't worry about it anymore. I can't worry about other people's feelings. And you know what? I've even been threatened with like, oh, well, you want to be out here talking about this? What if I tell people about you? Go right ahead. Your story is your story. Like, I'm not worried about any of it. I'm not. There's not much anybody could tell about me that I haven't already told myself. And if there's something out there, it's just because I either forgot about it or didn't think it was relevant. But I am truly an open book. Again, my life wasn't perfect. I didn't always make the best decisions, but I also, by no stretch of the imagination, is the worst person in the world. So, but that's the thing, people will try to threaten you because they want to try to protect themselves. And so I had to just throw all caution to the world. Like, I don't give a care. This is me, Stae Hall, flaws and all. And I'm not for everybody, and I'm not supposed to be, but for the people who I am for, all I can do is give them 100% genuineness and authenticity. So I appreciate y'all. I can't tell you how much it means to me to have you all tune in week after week for Thirsty Thursday and Mindset Mondays and all the things. And my only goal in any of this is to be able to impact and impart in you just some life lessons that might help just the smallest part of your life just be a little bit easier to navigate. And I can't remind y'all enough that I am also available. I am a certified life coach and soft skills and emotional intelligence coach. So if you need any of those services and you would like to meet with me one-on-one, all of my information is always in the description box. So feel free to reach out to me anytime. And I do complimentary 20-minute consultations because, again, I want to be able to impact you, to be able to show up at the highest level of you every single day, and just to reach that level of success that you deserve and desire. And whether that's spiritually, mentally, business-wise, whatever it is, what I am is a support system and a cheerleader. So I am here for it. So if you feel like I could be a value add to what you have going on, just reach out to me, because I know that everything you have, you might not, want to talk about in front of everybody. So just reach out. But anyway, y'all, I'm about to eat some dinner. I have not eaten anything today. I've just been out doing my thing, back-to-back meetings. But of course, I'm going to try to be as consistent as I can. And thank y'all for getting me to my 3,000 watched hours and my 680 some subscribers. Please continue to share the channel with other people so this Lifer tribe can grow and grow and grow. And y'all know the drill. I love each and every one of you to bits and pieces. I appreciate you so much for being here. Continue to love one another and be kind, but don't forget to live your life. L-Y-F-E. Love yourself first explicitly. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.
Living life is scary. Hey, hey. 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 Love yourself first, explicitly. You owe it to yourself to move with that energy. Empower your self-esteem. Self-love is king. That's the only way to win. That's how you empower your dream. living life with Stae. Hey, hey, living life with Stae. Hey, hey, living life